You guys caught us on a weekend again, not yachting. Welcome back to the Wizard Shop. Let's get started. So the Trojan yacht that you guys have seen so many videos about is currently out of the water. It's called a haul out. It's where they actually physically pull the boat out of the water and put it up on stilts or jack stands or whatever you want to call them, boat jacks. It's getting a bottom job, paint job, prop service, all kinds of different things done. Now it's the time of the year to do it, and unfortunately we can't be yachting this weekend because it's not in the water. So while we're here, we're going to take a look at this wonderful Lexus LS400. For all the things that are going on really crazy in the world right now, especially here in the shop, I've been finding it very difficult to schedule jobs, to tell a customer how long it's going to take to get a job done. I don't know what has happened with our shipping services. You can name any brand you want, any company. It doesn't matter which one you choose. And even the companies that are selling the parts themselves. There's so many things going wrong right now. The Jeep that's back there, we found the distributor drive gear was bad. The engine rebuilder, I don't know if they didn't match up the gears or whatever went wrong. We're having to repair that, which is several steps back. Which that in itself is an inconvenience, but the real inconvenience is I ordered a new match set of gears over a week ago. And I finally was like, why haven't I got those yet? So I checked my order and checked the status. Oh, it's lost. And we don't even know where it's at, and we don't know why. It's just gone. How can I operate a business on that? So I got a refund, luckily, and I reordered another set from another company because I don't want another, oh, it's lost going on again. The Ferrari 456 back there, there was a few extra items a customer would like fixed. I figured in a week's time we can get that done. They were small little things. We didn't get it done. It isn't because we couldn't do it. It's because the parts didn't even show up. It took a week for a couple of the companies to even get it in the mail. So the shipping time hasn't even started because they weren't even sent in the mail yet. And lastly, on the Bentley, which is back there, is a Continental GT. We haven't even started on it because I ordered the parts a long time ago. I haven't got them. I looked at the status and it says pending. I had Crazy D in the office call them and say, where are we at with this order? And their answer was, I don't know. It's pending and we don't even know why it's pending. We can't even tell you why it's not shipped yet. We'll call you and let you know when we figure it out. It's like, wow. Oh, and Mrs. Wizard got gas in her Maserati yesterday. So she swiped her card and it said, oh, there's a system-wide outage. It's just down. We're not even going to accept your card. You can't buy any gas today. Thank you. It's like, what is going on here? But luckily, there is something or some company that you can trust in 2021. And that is Lexus and Toyota. For everything that's going wrong, these are still going right. Let's take a look around this beautiful car. So this is a 1996 Lexus LS400. For any of you guys that are gearheads like I am, you know the front end of this car. You know the story of this car. They are excellent, excellent vehicles. This one has over 230,000 miles on it. The customer had just bought it and they wanted us to check it over. So that's what we're going to do today. And for as many miles as on it, really this thing is very, very nice. The paint still shows very well. It's not caved in. There's a few tiny little dents here or there, which is to be expected with the age. There's the iconic LS400 rear end. They kind of look like a Mercedes. I think that's what they were going for. And honestly, I think they did a better job than Mercedes because a similar Mercedes of this year and this miles will be nowhere near this good of shape. There's another small little dent there. To me, that doesn't detract from how great this car is because those are small. Let's go ahead and hop into the interior and let Mrs. Wizard give you a tour, and then we'll look under the hood.
So here we are, ladies and gents. Look at that dash. That's kind of a cool dash, nicely lit up, nothing fancy there. It does have lots of warning lights on because we just have it in auxiliary mode. But do see that it has over 230,000 miles, just like the Wizard just said. Otherwise, there's some just minor, some wear on the top of the steering wheel. Probably because it's sat outside some, got a little bit of sun damage. But if you look, the dash is in really, really good shape. No cracks, nothing going on. It is an automatic, which is what you would expect for this era of car. But the wood here and the lacquer on it is in really good shape. No cracks or nothing wrong there. Maybe some of the reason it looks like they do keep a sunshade in here, and that definitely is going to help keep that dash nice. Got a little bit of a tear on the seat there, and that was something that, while that's not easily repaired sewing wise, that stuff called Plasta that's on our Amazon affiliate page, that actually could do a really good job. It's just a big sticker, and which is worse, a big sticker that kind of goes around it or a tear in the seat. Neither are going to look fabulous, but which is going to keep the seat lasting longer? And I would think it'd be that sticker on it. We do have a two-tone on our door trim, but we do have leather all the way around, front and back seat as well. Headliner is looking really good. No marks, no scuffs, no holes, no tears. This is a Toyota after all, where they focus on the reliability of the engine, not so much on what they're providing for you inside the vehicle. While it does have leather and it is a comfortable ride, they don't always have all those creature comforts that we are used to in other cars, where they may focus more on those comforts rather than what they put under the hood. Speaking of the hood, let's go check out what's underneath it.
And here we have a partially taken apart 1UZ FE, which is a 4-liter V8. I will say that we do have the valve covers off because they were leaking. And that's pretty much all that we found as far as the engine's concerned. We'll take a look underneath here in a minute. The timing belt was recently done about 2 years ago or 30,000 miles ago, so it is not time for a timing belt or water pump. All the fluids are in good shape, the belts are in good shape. These engines put out about 260 horsepower and 270 pound-feet of torque. 0 to 60 in 6.2. Really, that's pretty good for a family sedan or a luxury car. It's very, very reliable as far as the engine and transmission goes. It's similar to a Mercedes of the era, that it has 2 distributor caps, one for each bank of cylinders, but it does have 1 ignition coil here. So we do have some rags over the valve train to keep any debris or bolts or nuts or anything from getting inside the engine. And again, we're waiting on parts. The work is ready to be done. We just need the parts to do it. But as soon as we get them, we'll get it back together and get this thing back to the customer. I'll show you some parts on the shelf behind Mrs. Wizard. So here are a lot of things we had to take off to do the valve cover gaskets. We got the air cleaner and the mass airflow sensor. We have this little resonator chamber and S-curve intake pipe, engine cover. Here's also another cover. And over here, we do see some of the spark plug and different wire routing clips and some bolts. Here's our valve covers. And these are the plastic covers that go over the valve cover. And we can see the miles are at 225,000, which is 5,000 or 6,000 miles ago. So it is not time for a timing belt and water pump. Luckily this was done. This is a big question that I had when the customer brought this and said they just bought it. But that question was answered when I saw this sticker, and also verified looking at the timing belt, and it looks brand new. So that's been done. So as you can see, with the amount of miles on it, there really wasn't a whole lot wrong. The customer was expecting much, much more. But we're not done yet. Let's go ahead and get this thing up in the air, and let's take a look on the underneath. We do have the belly pan removed, and we can see the whole underneath. It is oily and slimy underneath because of the valve cover gaskets. They were leaking all over the place. Let's go ahead and start here with the radiator. Here's our bottom tank with our transmission cooler in the bottom there, and no leaks going on. Check our fan, and it's not loose. The thermal clutch is good. You can see oil here that was all coming from up above, and the valve cover gaskets, they were leaking really, really bad. There's oil all over these lines on the AC compressor. We definitely knew that we needed to do those. Let's go check this wheel over here. The brakes are about 60%. Nothing loose there. The strut is nice and dry. The sway bar link and bushing is good. We do see the boot is a little bit shredded here just from age. A lot of this oil again is from the valve cover gaskets. It was literally just covered in this whole area. We'll probably put a new boot since we have this apart anyways. We'll take care of that. But the one thing we did find is right here was the ball joint. The customer mentioned that they had a clunking noise when they backed out of the driveway, and we inspected and found a bad ball joint. Let me show you guys what it looks like. So when I give the wheels a little shake up and down, I was able to find this was our clunking noise. You can hear it moves up and down. The other side is tight as a drum. This one was flopping pretty. It had probably a ½ inch of play. It's quite a bit. And Long Beach was actually doing the diagnosis on it, and he said, how are we going to press that ball joint out? I said, you don't. This is the way you buy a ball joint on an LS400. You unbolt the 2 bolts here and take off the tie rod in, and you buy this entire assembly, and you throw this bad one in the scrap iron pile. I suppose you could replace the joint itself, but the labor involved to do it would be as much or more than just buying this. So that was our clunking noise. So you can see where it bolts in, these 2 holes here, and the ball joint goes in here. That is currently off the vehicle, and again we're waiting on the parts. The strut is in good shape, it's not leaking. Let's go ahead and move our way back. Here we have more leaking that was coming from the valve cover gasket. It's actually coming from way up above where it mounts the transmission dipstick, all the way up there, draining all the way down and just spreading all the way. One of the worst valve cover gaskets I've seen in a long time. It was literally just coating everything. As we move back here, we can see that it has a Mercedes style or a German style flex disc here. And it does have some tiny little cracks in it from age. We may look into replacing that. We'll see what the customer wants to do. But that's really not that big of a deal, and it doesn't surprise me with the age. We'll move on back to here. Everything feels good there. We have, again, some tiny little cracks in the flex disc. It's under no danger of just coming apart, but it may be something we need to go ahead and address anyway while it's here. Differential is nice and dry. Our CV shafts and the boots are in good shape on both sides. The brakes here are about 50 or 60% remaining. The strut is nice and dry. And our sway bar link is not making any noise or looseness. Go to this side. The brakes are also 50, 60%. Sway bar link is good. Nothing loose there, and the strut is dry. Here's our spare tire well and dual exhaust. So the tread looks really good. Everything looks good as far as the tires are concerned, but the date code is from 2014, which would be about 7 years old. I suppose these could still be used for quite a while, but I may give a recommendation to the customer that soon he needs to start shopping for a set of tires, but these will still be good for probably another 6 months or a year. It'll be no problem. Let's go ahead and get this thing on the ground. So like I mentioned, with the amount of miles that are on this vehicle and the age, the customer fully expected it to be a laundry list. Multiple $2,000–3,000 worth of repairs. But it's not. I really, really recommend these cars. They are that good. You can expect to buy one of these cars with some age and some miles on them and really not have to put tons and tons into them. I don't know if you could buy a BMW with 230,000 miles and just have a few small items to take care of.
Okay, Car Wizard, so if those valve cover gaskets were leaking that badly, could all that dripping oil have caused damage to any other component?
The only issue I would be concerned about is maybe rubber components like motor mounts or things like that could get worn really bad from oil being on them. Also, oil could get into electrical connectors and cause some electrical issues if it were to get past the weather packing and get into the connections. But other than that, really it's not going to damage anything. You really need to keep an eye on your oil level if it's really, really bad, because you could literally run out of oil because it's going out under the ground.
Do you think that the valve cover gasket leak caused that boot to fail?
Very likely. Having oil constantly dripped on it, it takes a flexible, pliable plastic and turns it brittle, and it starts to crack and break down, and the constant accordion effect just crackles and breaks it into pieces. We'll take care of the valve cover gasket leak and put a new boot on the end of the steering rack. These boots are easily replaceable. You do have to take your tie rod end off and also the nut, the locking nut, and then you can take the old boot off, slide on a new boot, and you're back in business. Just make sure to mark where your tie rod end was and put it right back where it was. Otherwise, you may have to get an alignment. So many of you watch 100% Jake on YouTube, but you will hear multiple praises from him on these cars as well. He absolutely loves these LS400s. They look good, they're luxurious, they ride good, but also, just like we're seeing here today, many miles can be on these cars, and they still go, and they go, and they go. I wish the rest of society and everything else going on in the world was Lexus Toyota, because we would all be so much happier. Unfortunately, it's not. If you're curious what kind of tools we're going to use to finish up this Lexus LS400, check my Amazon affiliates link in the description below. We get a small cut and we really appreciate it. Make sure to hit the subscribe button, because there is a car in the shop right now that's going to be a really good video coming up. I just bought a car, Mrs. Wizard.
No!
Another one.
Where's my Ferrari?
There's also a Ferrari video coming up, guys. I got it running this week. It runs so good. Thanks for watching.